Listen, I need you to understand something right now, before we go any further. I am not the kind of being who scares easily. I have negotiated trade deals with the Vrillian hive mind, creatures that literally eat fear for breakfast. I have stared down pirate lords in the outer nexus who make violence into an art form. I have survived 3 separate assassination attempts, 2 political coups and 1 extremely awkward dinner party, where someone brought live prey to a formal function. But Earth made me question every single assumption I had ever made about the nature of survival, intelligence and what the hell constitutes normal in this god-forsaken galaxy. My name is Kellix Tharn, and I am, or rather was, the Chief Sinological Assessment Officer for the Galactic Coalition's Expansion Bureau. Fancy title, right? Basically, my job was simple: go to newly discovered worlds with potential sapient species, evaluate their danger level, their technology, their potential for integration into galactic society, and file a report. Easy. I had done it 417 times before. Earth was supposed to be number 418. Supposed to be. The mission brief came through on a Tuesday, which should have been my first warning because nothing good ever happens on a Tuesday. The planet was called Earth by its inhabitants, a water-rich world in a yellow dwarf star system that nobody had bothered to explore because, frankly, it was in the middle of nowhere. But some junior surveyor had picked up radio signals, then quantum signatures, then visual confirmation of cities and agriculture, and all the usual markers of a technological civilization. Standard first contact protocol. Send in an assessment team. Keep it quiet, observe and evaluate before making any official introductions. The Coalition did not want another incident like the Pornex situation, where we accidentally caused a planetary religious crisis by landing our ship on their holiest temple. That took decades to sort out, plus reparations, and a formal apology delivered in 17 different harmonic frequencies. So there I was, standing in the briefing room of the CSS Harmonious Accord, looking at the preliminary data with my assessment team. There was Rilke, my communications specialist, who had gills that fluttered when she was excited. There was Vaughn, our military advisor, built like a walking tank and about as chatty. And there was Pip, our junior xenobiologist, who was so young his spots had not even fully developed yet. The preliminary scans showed a planet absolutely teeming with life. Biological diversity that made our databases crash twice just trying to catalog it. Millions of species, complex ecosystems, apex predators that could apparently grow to the size of our shuttlecraft. Danger rating? I asked, pulling up the environmental analysis. Peep, bless his naive little hearts, actually smiled. Well, sir, the atmosphere is oxygen-rich, about 21%, which is, unusually high. Gravity is 0.98 standard, so well within tolerance. Temperature ranges vary significantly by region, but averaged out it looks quite pleasant. Water covers about 70% of the surface. I would preliminary rate it as a Class 3, maybe Class 4 environment. For reference, Class 1 is Paradise World, bring a picnic basket. Class 10 is approach with a battle fleet and pray to whatever gods you still believe in. Class 3, Vaughn rumbled, his mandibles clicking skeptically. With those predator readings? Well, yes, there are some large carnivores, but the sapient species, the humans, they have clearly developed past natural predation. Look, cities, agriculture, technology. They have moved beyond survival of the fittest. Oh, Pip. Sweet, innocent, statistically about to be traumatized Pip. I should mention that the Coalition has very strict rules about first contact. Rule 1 is do not interfere with natural development. Rule 2 is do not reveal yourself until you have a complete assessment. Rule 3 is under no circumstances should you judge a species by your own standards, because that way lies existential horror and therapy bills. We parked our ship in a geosynchronous orbit, cloaked, and began our observation. Standard procedure was to spend about 6 local rotations. That is, 6 days observing from orbit before sending down probes or, if absolutely necessary, an infiltration team. Day 1 was confusing. We watched their information networks, intercepted their broadcasts, analyzed their cultural output, and right away things seemed weird. These humans had entertainment media that was normal. Lots of species have stories, but their stories were bizarre. They had horror genres, where the entire point was to scare themselves for fun. They had action genres, where they depicted their own species doing impossible physical feats. They had disaster films where they showed their planet trying to kill them in increasingly creative ways, and they watched these for entertainment. Why? Rilke asked, her gills flapping in distress. Why would they create simulations of their own extinction? Is this a death cult species? Maybe it is aspirational, Pip suggested, like they want to prove they can survive anything. I made a note. Possible cultural fascination with mortality and survival. Continue observation. Day 2 was when I started to get worried. We focused our sensors on a place they called a hospital, a medical facility, standard procedure to understand their health and biology, and what we saw made absolutely no sense. They were bringing in injured humans, some of them catastrophically injured, missing limbs, massive trauma, things that would kill most sapient species within moments. And their medical staff, these healers, they just fixed them, or tried to, and the humans survived. One human came in after something called a car accident. Their transport vehicles, apparently, were metal boxes that they drove around at insane speeds with basically zero protection. This particular human had been in a collision at over 100 kilometers per hour. Their skeletal structure was fractured in multiple places. Their organs were damaged. By all rights, they should have been dead. 6 hours later, they were stable. 12 hours later, they were conscious. 3 days later, they were complaining about the food and asking when they could leave. That is not possible, Vaughn stated flatly. Their healing factor is off the charts. Are they cybernetically enhanced? Pip checked the biological scans. No, sir. That is just what they do. Their bodies have redundant systems. Rapid cellular regeneration, incredible adaptive capability. It is like they evolved in an environment that was constantly trying to kill them. What is the planetary danger rating? I asked quietly. Pip hesitated. I need more data. Day 3. We sent down microprobes, tiny sensors that could blend into their environment. We wanted to understand their daily life, their normal existence. Normal, we discovered, was a relative term. We watched a human female in a place called a gym, which appeared to be a voluntary torture facility. She was lifting weights, literally heavy objects, up and down over and over for no apparent reason other than to make her muscles stronger. Then she ran on a machine that went nowhere for 30 minutes. Then she did something called yoga that bent her body into positions that should have required medical intervention. When she left, she looked happy. Why? I asked nobody in particular. Would you voluntarily stress your body to near failure for recreation? Nobody had an answer. We watched human children, their young, playing in something called a playground. They were climbing structures, swinging from bars, launching themselves into the air and catching themselves at the last possible second. They were testing their physical limits constantly, and when they fell, which they did frequently, they just got back up, laughed, tried again. Their young were training for survival from the moment they could walk. We watched humans eat, and this is where things got truly disturbing. They consumed things that were actively trying to kill them, plants that contained toxins. They called them spices. They had entire cuisines based around a plant called a pepper that caused pain receptors to fire, and they ate it for fun, for flavor. One human we observed ate something called hot wings, with a sauce rated at over 2 million Scoville units, whatever that meant, and he was sweating and crying and his face turned colors we did not know human faces could turn, and when he finished, he smiled and said, "That is the good stuff." They ate poison for entertainment. Day 4 was when I upgraded Earth from a Class 4 to a Class 7. We observed their history, their past, and it was a catalogue of horrors. Ice ages that covered half their planet in frozen death, volcanic eruptions that blocked out their sun, asteroid impacts that caused mass extinctions, plagues that killed significant portions of their population, wars that devastated entire continents. And they survived. All of it. Every single catastrophic event that should have ended their species, they adapted, evolved, persisted. Sir, Rilke said, her voice shaking slightly. I think we need to reconsider our approach. These humans, they are not like other species we have encountered. They do not just survive their environment. They thrive because of it. Agreed, Vaughn added. Their military capabilities are also concerning. They have weapons that can destroy their own planet multiple times over, and they still exist. They have not wiped themselves out. That requires a level of restraint we rarely see in species with such destructive capacity. I stared at the data streaming across my screens. What is their current danger rating for integration? Pipe worked his console frantically. If we are rating their potential threat to coalition species, Class 8, maybe Class 9. They are durable, adaptable, creative, and they have a cultural tendency towards exploration and expansion. But sir, they are not hostile. Their media shows cooperation, compassion, art, love. They are not conquerors. Not yet, Vaughn muttered. Day 5. We made our first mistake. We decided to make direct contact with a single human. A controlled encounter to gather more specific data. We chose an isolated individual, a scientist working alone in a research station in a frozen wasteland they called Antarctica. Seemed safe. One human, controlled environment, minimal risk. His name was Marcus Webb. We transported him aboard our ship while he slept, standard non-invasive abduction protocol. When he woke up in our medical bay, restrained gently to prevent panic-induced injury, I expected fear, terror, the usual response. Marcus Webb looked around, saw 3 alien beings staring at him, and his first words were, "Huh. So I owe my buddy Trevor $50. He bet aliens were real." Marcus Webb was not screaming. This was, according to every single first contact protocol manual I had ever read, completely wrong. Species encountering extraterrestrial intelligence for the first time were supposed to panic. They were supposed to have psychological breakdowns. They were supposed to require sedation, therapy, and sometimes complete memory wipes just to function normally again. Marcus Webb asked if we had coffee. "I apologize," I said, using the translation matrix to convert my language into his. "We do not have your specific stimulant beverage. However, we can synthesize something similar if you provide a chemical breakdown." He blinked, then he laughed. Actually, laughed. "You can translate languages you have never heard before, cross light years of space, and build a ship that can grab people out of their beds, but you do not have coffee? Man, that is prioritization for you." Rilke's gills fluttered nervously. Vaughn's hand moved closer to his sidearm. Pip just stared, his datapad forgotten. "You are not afraid," I observed. "Oh, I am terrified," Marcus said cheerfully. "My heart rate is probably through the roof. I am definitely going to need therapy after this, and I'm pretty sure I peed a little when I first woke up. But what is being scared going to do? You are clearly advanced enough to vaporize me if you wanted to. So either you are here to kill me, in which case panic will not help, or you are here to talk, in which case panic will not help. So," he shrugged, or attempted to within his restraints. "Let us talk." I made a note. Human psychology shows remarkable adaptability to extreme stress situations. "Can I ask questions too?" Marcus said. "Because I have got about 1 million of them. Starting with what the hell kind of species are you guys?" This was already so far outside normal protocol that I decided to just go with it. "I am Kellix Tharn of the Rin Collective. This is Rilke, Vaughn and Pip. We are members of the Galactic Coalition, an association of spacefaring species dedicated to mutual cooperation and advancement." "Cool, cool, cool. And you are here because we are conducting a first contact assessment. Your species recently achieved detectable technological signatures. We are here to determine your potential for integration into galactic society." Marcus processed this. "So, like you are checking if we are cool enough to join the space club." That is an extremely simplified version, but essentially accurate. "And how are we doing so far?" I hesitated. How did I explain that his entire species was simultaneously fascinating and absolutely terrifying? That is still being determined. "May I ask you some questions?" "Fire away, space buddy." I consulted my datapad, trying to formulate my questions carefully. Your planet appears to be unusually hostile to life. Extreme temperature variations, violent weather patterns, numerous apex predators, geological instability. How did your species survive long enough to develop sapience? Marcus actually grinned. Oh man, you want the whole evolutionary history? Because that is a story. Short version is we got really good at not dying. Humans are persistence hunters. We can outlast pretty much anything. We can sweat, which most animals cannot do, so we can run for hours without overheating. We can eat almost anything, organic. We can survive in almost any climate. We are not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest individual species, but we are the most stubbornly persistent sons of guns this planet ever produced. You're young? Rilke interjected, her voice trembling slightly. We observed them engaging in dangerous physical activities, climbing, jumping, risking injury. Why do you allow this? Marcus looked confused. Because that is how kids learn. You have got to let them take risks, test boundaries, figure out what their bodies can do. Sure, they fall down sometimes, scrape a knee, maybe break an arm. But that is part of growing up. You cannot protect kids from everything, or they will never learn to protect themselves. The casual acceptance of injury to offspring made Rilke's gills go completely flat against her neck. Your food, I continued. You consume substances that are chemically designed to cause pain. Why? Because it tastes good? Look, capsaicin, the stuff in peppers, it tricks your pain receptors. But it is not actually hurting you. Your brain releases endorphins to deal with the pain, and that feels good. It is like a natural high. Plus it makes food interesting. Who wants to eat bland stuff when you can have flavor explosions in your mouth? You intentionally cause yourself pain for pleasure, Vaughan stated, his mandibles clicking rapidly. This is masochistic behavior, or it is appreciating the full range of sensory experiences, Marcus countered. Life is not about avoiding discomfort. Life is about experiencing everything as fully as possible. Yeah, that means sometimes things hurt, but it also means incredible joy, amazing discoveries, deep connections with other people. You cannot have the good without risking the bad. I made another note. Human philosophy appears to embrace risk as a fundamental component of existence. Damn right, Marcus said. Look, you want to know the real secret of humanity. We are all going to die anyway. Every single one of us. Nothing we do changes that. So the question is not how do we avoid death, but what do we do with the time we have? Do we hide, play it safe, never take chances? Or do we live, really live, explore, create, love, fight, build, dream, fail, succeed, and experience every possible thing this universe has to offer before our time runs out? There was a long silence in the medical bay. Your species has nuclear weapons, Vaughan said quietly. Enough to destroy your own planet multiple times over. Why have you not used them? Marcus's expression became serious for the first time. Because we learned? Yeah, we have done horrible things to each other. Wars, genocides, atrocities that still haunt us. But we also have empathy, imagination, the ability to see ourselves in others. We realized that destroying ourselves was not just stupid, it was the ultimate waste. We have this beautiful, ridiculous, dangerous, amazing planet, and we are the only species on it that can appreciate how special that is. Why would we throw that away? But you still maintain the weapons, Vaughan pressed. Because we are not stupid. We know there are threats out there. We know that peace requires strength. But we also know that strength without wisdom is just violence. We are trying. We are not perfect, not even close. But we are trying to be better than we were yesterday. That is all anyone can do. I looked at my team. Rilke was frantically taking notes. Pip looked like he was having a religious experience. Vaughan looked like he was recalculating every threat assessment he had ever made. Marcus Webb, I said carefully. I need to ask you something that may seem strange. What is Earth's danger rating? In your opinion, how dangerous is your planet? He considered this. For humans, or for someone like you guys? Both. Marcus leaned back as much as his restraints allowed. For humans, Earth is home. Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, it tries to kill us on a regular basis. Hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfires, extreme heat, extreme cold, predators, diseases, parasites, poisonous plants, venomous animals. But that is just normal. That is Tuesday for us. We have adapted to all of it. Our babies, our most vulnerable members, they survive conditions that would kill most organisms. Because they are human. Because they are built for this world. He paused, his expression becoming thoughtful. But for you guys, I do not know. Maybe Earth would be a nightmare. Maybe you would find it impossibly hostile. Or maybe, just maybe, you would find it challenging in a way that makes you grow stronger. Because that is what Earth does. It does not make things easy, but it makes things worth it. And your species? I asked. How dangerous are humans? Marcus met my eyes directly. We can be the most dangerous thing you have ever encountered, or we can be your greatest allies. We have the capacity for incredible violence and incredible compassion. We can destroy, or we can create. We can hate, or we can love. And here is the thing. We get to choose, every single day. Every single human gets to choose what kind of person they want to be. Most of us, most of the time, choose to be decent, to help each other, to build instead of destroy. But yeah, if you threaten us, if you threaten our planet, our families, our freedom, then you will discover exactly how dangerous a species that evolved on a death world can be. The translation matrix could not quite capture the intensity in his voice, but it did not need to. The meaning was crystal clear. Vaughn spoke into the silence. Are you threatening us? Marcus actually laughed again. No, man. I am just being honest. You asked how dangerous we are. That is the answer. We are as dangerous as we need to be. But we would much rather be friends. We would much rather learn from you, share with you, explore the universe together. We have been alone in this galaxy for our entire existence. The idea that there are others out there, that is incredible. That is amazing. That is everything we have ever dreamed about. I made my final note. Human species displays extreme adaptability, resilience and psychological flexibility. Capable of significant violence but demonstrates preference for cooperation. Recommendation: proceed with first contact, but with appropriate respect for capabilities. Then I did something that was definitely not in the protocol manual. I released his restraints. Marcus rubbed his wrists, looking surprised. You are letting me go? Yes. We have learned what we needed to learn. We will return you to your research station. You will find that only a few hours have passed. You may tell others about this encounter if you wish, though I suspect many will not believe you. Wait, that is it? You are not going to make some big announcement, land on the White House lawn, do the whole Independence Day thing? Not immediately. First contact requires careful preparation on both sides. But yes, we will return. The Galactic Coalition will initiate formal diplomatic relations with Earth within your next solar rotation. You have been assessed as suitable for integration. What was our rating? Marcus asked curiously. Like on your danger scale? I looked at him. This strange, fragile, incredibly resilient human who had adapted to an encounter with alien life as easily as he probably adapted to everything else his world threw at him. Class 9, I said quietly. Earth is rated as a Class 9 environment, one of the most hostile survivable planets we have ever encountered. And humans? Also Class 9. Potential threat level equivalent to several established military powers, but with observed tendencies towards cooperation and cultural complexity that suggests successful integration is possible. Marcus whistled. Class 9, huh? What is Class 10? Extinct, Vaughn said flatly. Class 10 is reserved for species that destroyed themselves or were destroyed by their environment. You are one classification below extinction. And we are still here, Marcus said softly. Still fighting, still surviving, still hoping. Yeah, that sounds about right for humanity. We transported him back to Antarctica, exactly as we found him. As he materialized in his research station, I spoke one last time through the communication link. Marcus Webb, your species asked what Earth's danger rating is. Tell them this. Earth is rated Class 9 because your babies survive it, because your children play in conditions that would kill most adults of other species, because you eat poison for fun, injure yourselves recreationally, and still find reasons to laugh. Because you refuse to die, refuse to give up, refuse to be anything less than exactly what you are. Dangerous, beautiful, and absolutely impossible to predict. He grinned. You know what? I think we are going to like being part of this galactic community thing. Just wait until you try pizza. That is going to blow your minds. The communication link closed. 6 months later, formal first contact was made. Earth joined the Galactic Coalition, and the galaxy was never the same again. Because humanity did not just survive a death world, they thrived on it. They loved it. They made art about it, told stories about it, and absolutely refused to be defined by it. And when other species encountered problems they thought were impossible, encountered dangers they thought were unsurvivable, encountered challenges they thought would break them, they learned to ask themselves a single question: what would a human do? Usually the answer involved stubbornness, creativity, inappropriate humor, and a complete refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The galaxy was not ready for humanity. But then again, humanity had never been ready for Earth. And they did just fine.